Good morning. My name's Haley and welcome to this channel. Today we're going to be going over the fourth gene key, which is called a universal panacea. The three parts of this gene key go as follows. We have the Shadow of Intolerance, which is what we'll be going over today, the Gift of Understanding, and the City of Forgiveness. Upon reading this, I was thinking, the morning light. It just came in. It's really early right now. Also, bear with my morning voice. But yes, upon reading this Shadow, Understanding, and Forgiveness, I couldn't right off the bat understand how those necessarily connect, but Richard Rudd does a fabulous job of weaving these three words together. So let's start off with the Shadow of Intolerance. Right off the bat, he mentions how the ancient Chinese named the fourth hexagram of the I Ching, which is what the gene keys is emulated after, youthful folly. So another way to describe intolerance is youthful folly, which I think sounds definitely more poetic and paints a clearer picture in my mind of what intolerance could be, or could look like, or could feel like, more importantly. Youthful folly. This shadow is rooted in the mind's habit of becoming tangled up in the emotions of the mind. So that could manifested look like revisiting a thought loop about a breakup, over analyzing the just awful conversation you had with your boss earlier. Getting caught up in the human emotion of it all. The mind's habit, the constant return. You can think of anxiety, something always knocking on the door of your mind, not a quiet mind. Something's always moving. A habit, also important to define the word habit. A habit is something you keep doing that you, of your own free will, can't seem to stop doing. Your body's been conditioned to do it. Your subconscious mind has the task so perfectly memorized, it can do it without your conscious mind even partaking. Without you consciously choosing to partake, I should say. He says, human beings are governed by their emotions, and the general state of humanity is unstable and chaotic. Which is true. Governed by the emotions, meaning when I feel an emotion, whether it's sadness or apathy or grief or shame, that emotion moves me to do certain things, see certain people, avoid certain people, eat certain things, partake in certain activities. Emotions guide each individual for how they will act and behave throughout their day. And Richard Rudd poetically notes here that most of humanity is emotionally unstable and chaotic. Therefore, our actions are going to be unstable and chaotic. Our actions take on the quality of the emotions that we allow to move through our mind. We're reacting on the thoughts, right? Instead of taking the seat of the observer, looking at what's going on in the mind, we're so tangled up in it, we can't see that there's any separation between us and our thoughts. We think we are our thoughts, our emotions. We're so tangled up that we react on them. And he gives us the alternative here. He says, instead of attuning to the quiet, clear guidance that lies within each of us. And so in this sentence, he showcases the two options, entanglement and reaction. And then essentially he's describing meditation. Instead of attuning to the quiet, clear guidance that lies within each of us. There is a quiet, clear guidance system within each and every one of us. And all we have to do is listen. Okay, that's great, Richard Rudd. How? And sometimes, reading these kind of spiritual texts, you read something and you're like, Yeah. Okay, no, like I understand, and this all sounds great, but how do I do that? Or how do I implement that? What now? And so I like to, when I read sentences like this, just pin it. And I personally have a practice where I, for lack of better words, pray for it, ask for it, meditate on it. There's a phrase within the Bible, which I'm not exclusively Christian, Catholic, or any other denomination, but I like to reference quotes from all spiritual religious texts. And there's a quote in the Bible that says, "Ask and it is given." And in another video, I've mentioned how when you read something that's true, a natural sense of relief comes over you and your heart smiles. All I know is when I read that statement in the Bible, "Ask and it is given," my heart smiles and well, thank God. That means all I have to do is ask. So sometimes when I read sentences like this, okay, so all I have to do is attune to the quiet, clear guidance that lies within me. I don't know how to do that. Oh, let me ask for it. Hey, can I attune to the quiet, clear guidance within me? Okay. Well, I just asked, which means naturally, now it will be given. And maybe I'll make another video on this process that I do, because in a nutshell, that's what it is. But there's a way to ask so that your entire energetic body is online, and you're asking with a form of intensity that overrides the programs of your current habitual states. But that is a long rabbit hole that I will save for another time. Oh, thought something just touched me. But yes, back to the fourth gene key, the Shadow of Intolerance. Comment below, actually, if you do want to see that prayer practice I have, because it is very powerful. Okay, so we have the option to react or attune to our emotions. We have the choice to see that we're entangled in one with them, or see that we're actually separate and can choose of our own free will how to move. But this is the core issue, is that we decide that what we feel must be the truth. Oh, if I'm feeling sad, it must be true that I'm supposed to be sad. And yeah, my mind's gonna agree with me. But this is the thing, is what you feel is not always true. And this is, I'm gonna try to explain this to the best of my ability, but I've seen some really interesting videos and read some things about this. And a YouTuber I really like named Aaron Abb, he talks about the emotional guidance system and how when you feel a lower vibrational emotion, whether that's guilt, shame, apathy, grief, anger, impatience, sadness, loneliness, I could go on. When you feel a low vibrational emotion, it is not speaking to your circumstances. It's showing you that you've already gone astray. It's showing you that you've already drove the car off the road. You're already off-roading. And so what we feel is not the truth, in the sense that if you feel sad, it doesn't mean that every circumstance, every scenario, every outcome is sadness and you're hopeless. What it means is that you've gone off track from reality. You're attuning to illusion. You're not seeing things, seeing opportunities as they are. Essentially, you're wearing the dark sunnies. And so, again, Richard Rudd just says here that because we decide what we feel must be true, our mind agrees with us, and this is what starts the downward spiral. But this enlightens another way to think about things. Maybe just because I feel so upset, maybe it's not the truth. Maybe I don't need to feel upset about this scenario that I feel upset about. Maybe I don't need to feel so just pissed off that I fell off the moped and broke my clavicle and now I can't do yoga. Maybe there's a higher order behind this disorder that's allowing me to step into it. And then, months later, you find music, you find beautiful friends, you find a new zest for life and all forms of movement. So this is what he means by just because we feel it doesn't always mean it's true. There's a form of order behind the current disorder. Going back to that first gene key, talking about entropy and syntropy. One leads to the other. And also I'm going to link the video on the emotional guidance system below. Aaron Abke really eloquently paints a new way to view emotions that's really empowering, and it's really helped me a lot. So this shadow essentially is a misuse of the human mind. We're not using this thing properly. And this thing is powerful, right? This is what separates us from the animal kingdom, this prefrontal cortex, this 5% consciousness. It allows us to choose of our own free will and not be totally governed by our survival instincts. We have the ability to override certain prompts in order to achieve a certain goal, which is beautiful. However, we are misusing it. And this is what the fourth shadow of intolerance is all about. So once again, in reading this sentence, I can kind of predict in the future, in the city of forgiveness within this fourth gene key, Richard Rudd is going to say, when we start to use the mind correctly, the mind to serve the heart, the mind to serve all, not just the ego, we are going to fall into attunement with love, reality, and become more enlightened. But we'll get to that later. Right now we're talking about this shadow state. So yeah, we're misusing the mind. Something to contemplate here. How do I misuse my mind? How do I let my mind use me? Simple example. What anxiety thought loops are going on in your head? For me, back in the day, it was, oh, you're not good enough. You're never going to get that booking. Oh, they don't want you because the other girls in the casting line are much better suited for this job. Just all this critique. I'm not using my mind in that scenario. My mind is using me and berating me downward. So your mind is using you if you don't feel good, essentially. If it's in the driver's seat and you feel like you're at the mercy of it. If you feel helpless to a certain degree. And, something I recommend for this that I have implemented since last February, and it's absolutely 1000% changed my life, is the fun little word meditation, which is, essentially observing your mind, observing your thoughts so that you can get back into the driver's seat and not misuse the mind, not fall into this shadow of intolerance, of youthful folly. Many ways to do that as well. Many roads to Rome. I just prefer meditation. The shadow uses the power of distorted logic to support and uphold its volatile nature. In other words, if the fourth shadow has a bad day, it decides it doesn't like someone and finds a whole list of logical reasons to support and dislike it. Ooh. Okay, so here's a tangible example of the fourth shadow from my personal life experience. I used to misuse my mind, right? Which essentially is to create a goal or an outcome that's not aligned with reality. Create a goal or outcome that is for service of self, service to the ego, prideful, low vibrational in nature. So an example was, I used to think I actually had to be this size in order to get all these bookings, in order to kill it in the modeling industry, in order to become successful, in order to have a happy life. So I used to essentially equate happiness with this. Now, where is the distorted logic in here? It doesn't take a genius to figure out, well, being anorexic, not healthy, therefore you shouldn't actually want that. That's a distorted choice of goal. Also, how many people have probably told you the common cliche, about how success and money and happiness are not necessarily linked. That was also a distorted point of view of mine. Again, not to say that they're mutually exclusive. You can be successful, happy, and rich, but in order to be happy, you don't need to be rich. This was a distorted perception of my mind. I thought you had to be rich to be happy and successful. And so all of these kind of distorted, fixed goals in my mind led me to find a whole list of logical reasons to support it. Well, no, I do have to be this way because everyone in the industry is this way. Well, because my agent said it has to be this way. Well, because I'm going to get in trouble with my New York modeling agency if it's not this way. Well, because if I'm not this size, I'm not going to make enough money. Well, if I don't make enough money, then I'm not going to be able to have my rent. And the list goes on. But the more you are integrated into this shadow state, the more reasons you will have, the more your mind will use you, berate you, drive you downward, and make you feel small. And essentially, the more shitty you'll feel for just an all-encapsulating feeling. You'll feel overwhelmed, anxious, helpless. This laundry list of things will be coming at you and provide, honestly, pretty good arguments. So it takes rising above the initial ill-seated goal, success, rich, happiness, all equivalent. It takes overriding that root goal to see the folly, to see the youthful folly in all of the individual brainstormed points that your mind is going to use to berate you. So you who's watching this can ask yourself, what goals do I have? Or what belief systems do I have that actually, if I really actually sit down and think about, are these real? Are these true? Are these in alignment with reality and my most natural state of being, which is innocence and love, as we learned in the last chapter? Are these goals service-oriented? Are these goals mine? Or did I just accidentally get subconsciously programmed with them through society or through my parents or through where I went to school or where I grew up? Once again, making sure that your foundational goals are sound, service-oriented, and rooted in love is essentially what's going to wipe away the shadow of intolerance from showing up in your life. And that's a big contemplation. This is not one of those quick, like, oh, I have 2 minutes while I wait for the bus. I mean, you could spend a whole lifetime sitting with this question. So it's a big one. So then he notes here, still within this chapter of Shadow of Intolerance, he said, the mind's true role is to understand and communicate. That's it. This thing's job is to understand, take account of what's happening. Okay, tree's green, bench is brown, sun's coming in from this way, I feel good, I'm not too hot, I don't need to put a jacket on. To understand the environment. Oh, Jenny's my neighbor, she's super sweet. And okay, take account for things, to understand, and to communicate with that environment. Oh, hey Jenny, you want to come over for lunch? To communicate with myself. Oh, I actually am a little cold, let me put that jacket on. To understand and communicate. And actually, these two qualities are fundamental for all human relationship. Whether it's with yourself, your neighbors, your environment, your God self, which is inside of you and all around you. This is the mind's true purpose, true role. To communicate and understand. Anything extra, and now the mind is using you. So when you're completely in this shadow frequency of intolerance, you identify absolutely with your emotional state, which defines the way you live your life. What does that look like? Okay, well, for instance, if you're going through a breakup and your emotional state is just grief and sadness and, oh, this is just awful. If you're completely identified with your emotional state and you don't see the wisdom in being able to separate and look at the thoughts that are trying to drive you mad, then you're naturally going to react on those thoughts, react on those emotions, on those energies in motion, quite literally. They're going to put you into motion to do things that are probably destructive. Instead of being wise enough to sit with the grief and love it into life, you're going to act on the grief, which, for some people that could look like overeating chocolate or distracting yourself with calling every friend and talking about the guy you just broke up with, or gosh, what are some other things? Going and drinking it away, or doing drugs, or trying to go to all these kind of rave events to distract your mind. It's not going to drive you to something that's beneficial. When you're identified with your emotional state, with these energies and motions, they start to put you into motions that harm you. Yikes. And that's a whole laundry list. I just gave you the one example. Essentially, the subconscious mind starts to partake in all of the destructive habits. So this shadow has an opinion, it judges, and resentments are transmuted into convictions. I like what he says there. Resentments are transmuted into convictions. This is going to be a 2-part video for this shadow as per usual, because I'm going to talk a bit more here, but then we have the repressive nature and the reactive nature that will be in the next video. So he says here, we blind ourselves to our own logic. We use our mind, which is actually a gift, right? Again, it's what separates us from the animal kingdom. It's what makes us self-reflective, self-aware, self-conscious. And then we use it against ourselves. We blind ourselves to our own logic by once again having goals that are not rooted in reality. And what's reality? Let's just recap that. Reality is love. Reality is what is most loving to you, what is most loving to the person in front of you, and what is most loving to the people all around you. The animals all around you, the plants all around you, the nature all around you, everything all around you. What is the most loving for everyone, including yourself? If your goal is in alignment with this, you're rooted in reality. If your goal is not in alignment with this, you are not rooted in reality, and therefore you're blinding yourself with your own logic. And there's a lot of goals these days by many people that are not rooted in reality. Just have to turn to politics real quick to be like, oh wow, no reality over there. Hardly any. Because I'll just say this. If we were living in a paradigm where all of humanity was rooted in reality, there would be no sense of hierarchy or me first instead of you. There'd be no competition. It'd be this new earth vibe, this utopia. So yeah, we're definitely not in alignment with that right now, which is okay. This is the natural cycle of things, right? Disorder to order, disorder to order, syntropy to entropy, syntropy to entropy. We're moving from entropy to syntropy right now. From disorder to order, from chaos to cosmos, from fear to love. So many ways to say this. And so a key to breaking out of this shadow state is being able to see all patterns from both sides of the argument. Going back to the example I shared with you guys about how I really, really actually thought I needed to be this size because I needed to be successful in work, and success would bring money, and money would bring happiness. This was my belief system. In order to break free from the shadow of intolerance for this said belief, I needed to be willing to see this argument, this logical reasoning from another standpoint. I needed to be willing to put down my pride. Okay, Haley, for a second, let's just say you're not right, and enlighten the fact that maybe, just maybe, I don't need to be this size. Maybe, just maybe, I could be successful in a new way. I could earn money in a new way. Maybe, just maybe, I don't need to be rich from the modeling industry in order to be happy. Maybe. It starts with this kind of, let me just look at this from another angle. And it's the ability to be open, to be willing, to put the pride down that allows you to start to escape this shadow frequency. And if that doesn't happen, you will be stuck, stagnant in this shadow frequency, which is why I was stuck for so many years, because I was so stubborn. I didn't want to look at things from another angle. I had too much pride. So essentially, you need to be willing to let go of an egoic preference. And then he briefly mentions a little prelude into the gift of understanding, which essentially is the ability to assess all aspects of a viewpoint, to have a 360 holistic view on one goal, on one scenario, on one argument. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in with me for this Gene Keys episode. I also just wanted to come on here and start promoting my one-to-one coaching that I offer to women and girls ages 16 to 35. If you've followed me on Instagram for a while, you might be a little bit familiar with my story. I was a model in New York City for 5 years, and in that time frame, I did quite some damage. I developed a really severe eating disorder, body dysmorphia, chronic anxiety. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even go out to dinner without thinking about how much calories, how much I'd have to overwork out in order to compensate for what I was eating. All of those issues led to quite a depression and turned into PCOS, and I also lost my menstrual cycle for over 5 years. All of this amalgamation of issues led me to soon realize that something needed to change. I went through much work. Many people helped me to get to where I am now. And I'm so thrilled to say I'm living such a more abundant life, and I don't feel zapped and drained and fear of judgment anymore like I used to. I would love to offer what I've learned through my own embodied experience, the meditative techniques that have gravitated toward me, and the own verified games that I've made up and curated to help you walk home to more of you and who you really are, so that all of these things can stop draining your energy. You know, all the constant comparison to others and to people on Instagram, all the over-analysis about working out and what you're eating or what you look like. All of these things are not what life's about, as cheesy as it sounds. And I would love to help you come into more unity with you if you struggle with any of these things and you're a woman or girl between the ages of 16 and 35. So feel free to reach out to me if one-on-one coaching sounds resonant. You can feel free to DM me through Instagram or contact me via email, both of which will be left below in the description box. So much love and aloha to you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video.